All right. Really little update, I think. I just started chapter 1 of Midnight Tides. And I think this is going to be the best one for me. I think so. It finally has, in its most blunt kind of way possible, it has this theme that has been echoing around for a while. Man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about the Tistidur. Now, I was talking with someone that who's someone who's been watching sometimes about the series, and he decided to start it and then kind of is DNFing it a little bit. And a part of the reason was it seemed like from something I was saying that maybe Steven Erikson was asking us to be okay with the morally gray. And that's kind of one of those types of things. And here would be my response to that. And unfortunately, this response is not showcased very well until the end of the second book. And that's why we keep saying get to the second book. Because once it is showcased, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But unfortunately, it takes us a while before we get to that kind of thing that is showcased. And it's that one of the things I'm talking about is this compassion for people, compassion for self, compassion for others, and this pathway to either redemption in some cases or tragedy in some cases. But this thing that sometimes begins with this morally gray sort of thing, sometimes something very little. I love how this chapter begins, and I'll follow that up. I love how the chapter begins. This is my favorite opening scene in a chapter 1 in this series so far. I love the prologues, but the opening scene of the chapter 1s is what I mean. Starting with this giant. And so much does he not mess around with shadow that when the sun is starting to go down, he just closes his eyes. Because anything that does not is not seen in its pure light, not worth seeing. Not worth seeing. It reminds me of Karsa. Remember, something was just not quite right about these things he was looking at in book 4 until he finally realized that it was the way that the light was cast on it. Like this full light where shadow can't hide or whatever. That's kind of how it seemed like there was more shadow though in this other place. I can't remember when. Okay, now I'm thinking of House of Chains with the Treblor, the Teblor gods, and when they were. Anyway, he doesn't mess with shadow, and the one time he kind of goes around, and remember, shadow and chaos, at least in my mind, generally mythologically are kind of connected, or they at least kind of echo each other. He gets up, he sees this water. And again, water in my eyes is often this chaos, this chaotic kind of embodiment. Or at least that's how it's been for our human history. It seems like in all these written languages, it's just this water. So he goes out and he's obsessed with it. And then the night comes and he decides, okay, I got to lay down. But as soon as I open my eyes, I'm going to be looking at that stinking water. And as far as we know, it takes one night, and then the water overtakes him, drowns him. And I mean, how profound, there's instantly things that we kind of see or start to think about. And then, he was drowned by this. And then the water kind of takes his shape away. But under the right conditions, or whatever it says, let me see exactly what this is, because it just gave me goosebumps. Hold on. Okay. To see him true, even to this day, one must look in darkness, or close one's eyes to slits in brightest sunlight. Of all the gifts Father Shadow has given his children, this one talent stands tallest. Look away to see. Trust in it, and you will be led into shadow, where all truths hide. Look away to see. From that point, I can't remember. You can only, if you're looking at it in the light, you have to have it averted or whatever, or you through slits and kind of. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But it does matter. But how amazing that we've been talking about shadow from the first book, haven't really realized what that was going to blossom into. And now we are in this thing with Troll, who, I flippin' love Troll now. I'm so excited. This shadow guy, who it sounds like this whole Tist Edur, this group of shadow, even amongst them, maybe he's the most different shadow cast among, he seems like the pure one, right? Or is that stupid? But he seems like the one that needs to be on this throne. Or he doesn't even steal. He's the one that doesn't make morally bankrupt choices. But he has this belt of stuff, so he has killed people. I just love that he's fighting against, and then now we have these white-skinned Lethari people, and again, they're Troll, the Tist Edur lands. Shadow is always under siege. It's like, I've just never seen Shadow used quite like this. Obviously, when we think of Shadow, we think morally gray, but it's not quite used in that way, totally. But it's in there. But it's definitely in there. The thing that doesn't really show up yet in this series until the end of book 2 has to do with some of that as well. But it is this compassion, as it is linked with shadow. Not linked, but both of those kind of, you explore people's arcs so well, and sometimes we have compassion for people, even if we come to, especially when we come to understand maybe some of the things that drove them to those decisions. And that doesn't mean we are okay with the morally gray. I think Steven Erikson always points to light in this series, even though his context is shadow and dark. Like, it's so crazy. Anyway, I find this series super profound in some kind of strange ways that you don't usually see that. So it's really cool. Really cool. And I know I'll think of 5 more things. I can't keep doing these reactions after so many scenes, but man, it started awesome. Awesome. And, in that first scene with the giant, I got to emphasize that we get some word about Father Shadow. We have Mother Dark, we have Father Light, and now we have Father Shadow. So lots we can kind of, guess about kind of the familial kind of struggle that could be going on. It's interesting. It's interesting. Mother Dark, and then these 2 different. Anyway, maybe I'm just being an idiot thinking that means something, but I think it's cool.